So Anna Merlin, who interviewed me back at the Pedogate protest in D.C., this woman recently penned an article over on the New York Times. There you can see it. She tweeted out a link to it. And her tweet, she said, conspiracy theories are part of a legit instinct to distrust government. But the Seth Rich one tortures his family. Actually, a young man, their young son, being murdered in cold blood, being shot in the back multiple times after allegedly leaking the DNC emails to WikiLeaks. According to Kim.com, he was the source. So being shot to death and then dying in a hospital, that is torturous to his family. Avenging his death, looking into the motivation for why he was murdered. He did not have the flu. He did not pass away from cancer. This young man was shot to death in cold blood. And you think that us looking into Seth Rich's murder, again, not his passing away, his murder, Anna Merlin, you believe that tortures his family? I disagree. Several of my colleagues have said your article is one of the worst articles they have ever read. Your failed attempt to cover up and to conflate the Seth Rich murder with conspiracy theories, your attempt to discredit the murder of a young man, the political murder of a young leaker, your attempt to discredit this story in the New York Times is despicable, Anna. You are so gross, both inside and out. And you had this frame when you interviewed me like I was the crazy person because I care about bringing justice and bringing awareness to a global pedophile ring, which is very real. The Department of Homeland Security is talking about it. KTLA, one of the biggest TV news stations in the Los Angeles metro area, has just reported on it. Pedogate is very real. We're not nuts to want justice. You're a nut to be trying to cover up Seth Rich's murder. So a little bit more about Anna Merlin and the media. David Rockefeller, who died recently, he is quoted as saying, "We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries." David Rockefeller, again a globalist, a man who passed away recently, and a suspected Satanist. So let's go into the satanic aspect of this stuff because it's very important. So Anna Merlin, just when you go through her tweets, this doesn't seem like the mind of somebody who should have been assigned to look into the murder of a DNC staffer, to look into a political murder that millions of people on the internet are talking about nonstop. They should have assigned somebody with a better mind. Anna tweeted out recently, "I would like the whole universe to know I was on mushrooms in this photo and having one of the top 5 best days of my life. Thanks." I personally believe psilocybin. I personally believe mushrooms should not be illegal because there's a growing body of evidence. It can help with PTSD victims and all of that. So I actually favor looking into mushrooms from a scientific point of view, but totally inappropriate tweet from the woman who is tasked with professionally looking into the murder of Seth Rich. You know, her views are incorrect. Seth Rich was murdered. It's not unhinged conspiracy theory. He was murdered, Anna. Which evidence do you have that actually contradicts that? This young man was murdered. Why don't you interview Kim.com? And then if you're a computer forensic expert, you can argue with him over the evidence that he may have that Seth Rich is the one who uploaded those emails to WikiLeaks. So another tweet, Tessa is clearly a witch. This woman is jokingly concluding that certain people are witches. And after she interviewed me at the Pedogate protest, I checked out her Twitter page at the time, and then when I saw her header profile pic that she had chosen, there it is. I tweeted to her, "Sorry, when you're tasked with discrediting those of us protesting satanic ritual abuse, the Satan Tarot header's not a good look." And she responded, "What's a Satan tarot header? It's a silly pic of poo. Surely you see how absurd this is. Anyway, have a good one." Of course, I do see an image of Winnie the Pooh. I'm familiar with Winnie the Pooh. But I also see an image of what appears to be Satan or Baphomet as it appears in various tarot decks. There's the image again. It appears that Winnie the Pooh, a child icon, a cartoon that children watch, is bowing down to Satan. That's what it appears to me, Anna. By her own admission in a recent tweet, she is a huge dirtbag barely holding it together. Again, I think it's unprofessional that the New York Times assigned this woman to write an article on Seth Rich's murder and to ascertain whether or not there is validity to the claims on the internet that he was murdered for political reasons and as retribution for leaking to WikiLeaks. Now, she's admitting she's a huge dirtbag on a public forum, on a public platform. Not appropriate, New York Times. This actually tortures the family of Seth Rich, assigning this unprofessional young woman to cover this in the New York Times is an injustice to the family of Seth Rich, and of course, it's an injustice to Seth Rich himself. I mean, how can these people cover up that pedogate is real? How can these people try to wallpaper over the political murder, the assassination of a young man, a DNC staffer? His name was Seth Rich. How can these people think they will get away with that? And these are just people, these folks in the media, you're just human beings like me and like the viewers. You're not any smarter than the rest of us. You're not really any more powerful because we don't believe you anymore. And again, you're just people too. So what Jennings Brown, the freelancer at the Daily Beast, did to me, his dishonest email exchange with me, and then his hit piece on me, calling people from my past, from 5 and 6 years ago in my past, calling those people hoping to get dirt on me, mining the organizer of the Pedogate protest. Of course, I just went to the protest. I was not an organizer, but he interviewed the organizer of the protest, and I have a recording of that interview where he's mining the protest organizer, not for details about the protest, not for details about Pedogate, but about me, David Seaman, which is weird. That is unusual, and it shows intent to create a hit piece. And then, of course, the resulting article in the Daily Beast by this freelancer Jennings Brown was a hit piece. It made me appear to be crazy. It led to a reputational and financial loss of income afterwards. And I am pursuing a lawsuit against Jennings Brown as a result of that. And I hope that when this goes to court, we can gain some transparency into both how much he was compensated for that article and his thought process in pitching it to the Daily Beast, as well as the financial ties between the Daily Beast and the Clinton family. Chelsea Clinton sits on the board of directors of the company that owns the Daily Beast. So it may be inappropriate for them to be commissioning hit pieces on journalists who are critical of the Clintons and critical of John Podesta, Hillary's campaign chairman. That may be entirely inappropriate, and it may also open up the Daily Beast to legal liability as well. But my focus is Jennings Brown because he did a very dishonest thing to me, and I even informed him by email that the Department of Homeland Security is looking into Pedogate and is looking into the sex trafficking ring, and that they've even gone so far as to put out a PSA showing the American public how to spot the signs of human trafficking and of child sex trafficking. He chose not to include that in his article, and when I asked him about some of the Podesta emails, he said that going through WikiLeaks would be beyond his pay grade. I disagree, Jennings Brown. I think anybody is allowed to go through WikiLeaks, even if you're not being paid by the Daily Beast. You just go to wikileaks.org, you click on the John Podesta email archive, you type in pizza, which researchers believe is code language for a very, very young girl. You type in pizza, or you type in hot dog, which researchers believe is code for a very, very young boy, or you type in walnut sauce. I won't even go into that one. Or you type in torture chamber. That one's not too hard to figure out. Go ahead and type torture chamber into the John Podesta email archive over at wikileaks.org. I think that they will not be able to put this one back in the box, and I think they are pissing off the American people by weaponizing the media against truth and by weaponizing it against the few of us who are not compromised, so we're simply telling the truth. I can read a WikiLeaks email in a YouTube video, doesn't make me a genius, doesn't make me a great reporter, but seemingly no one else in the media is able to do that. More than 6 months after these emails have come out, there is no mainstream media focus on the contents of John Podesta's emails, and I find that unusual. Thank you guys so much for watching.
You're watching Fulcrum. Be sure to bookmark fulcrum.news.